Hello guys, welcome back to the Brutal Investor channel. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. In this episode, we're going to talk about a new token that got launched on Binance recently, and this token is called AMP or the AMP token, right? Again, as always guys, I highly recommend you guys to do your own research on any project we cover on our channel. And for this project, I recommend you guys to go to their website amptoken.org in order to learn more about this project, right? So for the purpose of this video, we're going to use the information presented on Binance research page for the AMP token. But this is only going to be a peripheral analysis, which means you need to do your own in-depth research before you put your hard-earned money on this token, right? So again, what is AMP? AMP is basically a native collateral token of the Flexa payment network. Again, there's a lot of information that we need to know in order to understand what this actually means. So let's get into this. AMP is the native collateral token in the Flexa payment network. Flexa is a cryptocurrency payment network that makes it easier for merchants to accept crypto payments. So again, when it comes to AMP, it is actually a part of an ecosystem that already exists, and this ecosystem is called the Flexa ecosystem, which is also the payment network that facilitates easier payment options for merchants to accept crypto payments, right? So it's an existing network that is basically becoming popular on a day-to-day basis, and it's a system where AMP is acting as the native collateral token for facilitating payments, right? So that's basically what AMP is mainly used for. AMP is the native token of the project. The current use cases for AMP includes, again, there are a couple of use cases for AMP within the ecosystem of Flexa, and let's cover some of the ecosystem use cases for the AMP token. So one of the main use cases is acting as a collateral. On the Flexa payment network, AMP is staked by users to provide the sellers with collateral to unconfirmed cryptocurrency payments. For each transaction, an equal value of AMP is locked in a smart contract before the cryptocurrency payment. Example, Bitcoin is confirmed. If the payment ends up not being confirmed, the AMP token staked is used to repay the sellers. So again, there's a very intricate mechanism by which AMP acts as a collateral. So one of the primary use cases for AMP within the Flexa network is to act as a collateral, and how it does is it basically acts as a staking token. So users would have to stake AMP tokens in order to provide sellers with a collateral to unconfirmed cryptocurrency payments. So they need to stake AMP tokens in order to collateralize any form of unconfirmed cryptocurrency payments. So when you're sending cryptocurrency payments that are unconfirmed, you are required to stake AMP tokens before you can even start a payment. And for each transaction, an equal value of AMP is locked in the smart contract before the cryptocurrency payment is confirmed. So again, in the event of let's say, for example, you are transferring Bitcoin to purchase something from a restaurant, you need to ensure that you stake the equivalent value of AMP tokens before the payment can even be initiated, and the payment has to be confirmed in order for you to get back your AMP tokens, right? In this case, they used the example of Bitcoin, but it could be any cryptocurrency which is facilitated in the Flexa payment network, right? So if the payment ends up not being confirmed, the AMP token staked is used to repay the seller. So if in case your payment doesn't go through for some reason, or if you're trying to maliciously do something in such a way that you're planning to not make the payment go through and thereby deceive the seller, you can't do that, because the thing is your AMP token will be slashed and given back to the seller as as a reward, right? So if in case your payment does get confirmed, your AMP tokens will be returned back to you. If it doesn't end up getting confirmed, then your AMP tokens will act as the payment instead, right? So that's one of the main use cases of the AMP token. And the second main use case is staking. Users can stake AMP to increase the capacity of the Flexa payment network. Stakers receive staking rewards from network transaction fees. Again, you can ask, why is there a need to stake an equivalent value of crypto in order for you to use a payment system, because there are lots of other payment systems that don't really ask you to lock a collateral, right? So again, in order to incentivize people to stake AMP tokens in order to facilitate payment channels within the Flexa network, AMP stakers will be awarded with staking rewards from the network transaction fees in order for people to, in order for the platform to encourage people to stake the AMP token. So if in case you are staking, let's say $50 worth of AMP tokens, not only will you get $50 worth of payment option open, because you can basically like transact up to $50 because you have staked $50, but you need to understand that if the transaction doesn't get confirmed, your $50 worth of AMP would be slashed and given back to the seller, right? So that's obviously the risk. But if you do stake $50 worth of AMP, your AMP would be earning passive income, because it will be collecting, depending on how much AMPs that are staked in the entire network itself, you will be allocated a small portion of the transaction fees that acts as a staking reward in order to incentivize you to keep staking the AMP tokens, right? So you're actually earning passive income by staking AMP. So that's the second main use case. The third main use case is governance. Users can vote on governance proposals, including future grant recipients, partnerships, cross-chain integrations, and DeFi collaborations. Again, the third and the most important use case is again acting as a governance token, because governance is kind of like a part of any ecosystem, and for the Flexa payment ecosystem, AMP acts as the governance token. So by holding the AMP tokens, you can basically facilitate governance proposals and include, along with the participating in future grant, being a part of the future grant recipients, partnerships. You can vote on that. You can also vote on cross-chain integrations as well as DeFi collaborations by just holding AMP tokens, right? So these are some of the main use cases of the AMP tokens itself within the Flexa network. So here are the main components of the AMP and the ecosystem itself, the Flexa ecosystem itself, right? So the main components basically includes the Flexa payment network itself, which is a part of the entire ecosystem of the AMP network itself. So Flexa is a pure digital payment network. The Flexa payment uses AMP to collateralize payments and enable users to spend their digital assets in the real world. So yes, there is a very huge number of payment networks already in the crypto space. So what makes Flexa payment network unique? So Flexa payment actually acts as a pure digital payment network. It doesn't necessarily allow for any form of, there is a smart contract functionality that allows people to kind of like lock their AMP tokens when they're trying to facilitate payments, because you need to stake your AMP tokens with the smart contract in order to facilitate payments. But apart from that, it's a purely digital decentralized payment network, which is solely used only for payment purposes, right? There's no real dApp building or any other facilities or features available within the Flexa payment network. It's mainly used for payment solution, and therefore it's quite efficient and allows for people to stake their AMP, which can be used as a collateral for facilitating payments, right? So that's one of the main components of the AMP network. The second main component is collateral managers, escrow accounts built with different rules and specifications that can be customized to fit various use cases. Users can create a collateral manager with AMP as collateral in order to use it in applications. So again, when it comes to collateral management and becoming a collateral manager, you can, as we discussed, you can kind of lock your AMP tokens or stake your AMP tokens in order to create collateral manager, and also use this collateral in order to facilitate applications outside of the ecosystem, right? So that's one of the second main components of the AMP ecosystem. The third main component is token partitions. So again, partitions within the AMP token contract allows different collateral managers to enforce rules upon separate distinct spaces associated with the same digital addresses. This enables users to stake tokens without transferring them to a smart contract. So again, this is a little bit of a complicated architecture. So when it comes to partitions within the AMP network itself, AMP network contract itself. This basically allows for the various different collateral managers to kind of like enforce their own rules upon separate distinct space associated with the same digital addresses. So this is what it allows kind of like collateral managers to do, and it enables users like you and I to stake tokens without transferring them to a smart contract. So you can stake tokens without having to transfer to a specific smart contract that allows for staking. Obviously, staking does have a small portion of smart contract interaction with it, but it's not as like in other protocols, and it's completely different here, right? So these are some of the main three components of the AMP network itself. So as of November 23rd, 2021, the maximum and total token supply of AMP is 99.4 billion tokens. Again, this is a huge token supply. In fact, it's one of the highest that I've seen. There are tokens with more than trillion tokens in circulation, or even as a max supply or total token supply. But it seems like AMP is quite on the high end when it comes to like the token supply and maximum supply, which makes it a very volatile token, plus at the same time not as valuable as other projects, which is one of the downsides in my opinion for the AMP project. But again, you guys need to do your own research to determine whether AMP is a suitable project for you to invest in, right? So you can learn more about the total token distribution of AMP by clicking on the link here and then learn about this, right? But apart from that, Binance Research obviously has done a really good job when it comes to presenting the information. They also have a website, which you can easily access from here, documentation, Twitter, white paper, GitHub, and Explorer that you can also access from Binance Research page for AMP itself, right? So let's quickly go to the website itself to see what else information we can find from their project. So right off the bat, they have a pretty cool website. Again, they're planning to take money into the 21st century. AMP provides assets like Doge, Bitcoin Cash, and several other assets with instant verifiable assurance for any real world application. So this is again because of the fact that you can provide collateral in AMP, but you can also facilitate payments for these type of cryptocurrencies, right? You can stake. AMP is an extensible platform for collateralizing asset transfer. So again, this is one of the main focuses for AMP, because they allow for staking not only for allowing people to use it as a collateral, but also for providing staking rewards and making it a very viable ecosystem, right? So you can send cryptocurrencies. So AMP effectively decentralizes the risk of asset transfer. So they do enable fully decentralized payment focused transfers of cryptocurrencies within their platform, which is pretty good. You can repeat it multiple times. You don't have to worry about trying to focus on one platform for one activity, another platform for everything is within this particular Flex payment network, right? So that's pretty cool. And if here they're talking about why you need to choose AMP and some of the reasons why you need to focus on AMP. So here they're stating that collateral as a service is something that you can take advantage of through their platform, extensible and open source. So it is a fully decentralized and a platform that's specifically focused on payment solutions, but is also an open source project, which means it's up for scrutiny. The third and important use case is it's non-inflationary. Yes, the token supply is extremely high, but it's non-inflationary, which means no more new tokens will be minted. This is the maximum and the total supply altogether, right? So that's also, even though that's still the case, I still feel like a lot of tokens will be dumped because of the huge max supply of the token. I think it's going to definitely take a lot of capital to drive the token price to the moon, right? Which is going to be something that I'm not going to be personally interested in. So asset agnostic, so you can use any type of asset. It doesn't have to be a specific asset on a specific blockchain. You can make payment transactions with Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Avalanche, and so on and so forth, kind of like different blockchain assets within the Flexa payment network platform, right? So it's fully optimized to do that. And if you see, they have their white paper here, which I suggest you guys to read through. It provides a lot of information. You can meet their friends and collaborators through their website, because if you see, they have Flexa, Consensus, Coinbase, Gemini, Bittrex, Poloniex, Balancer, Dodo, SushiSwap, Uniswap, Banco Network, Crypto.com, Crystal, Conflux, Cream Finance, and so on and so forth. They have a huge list of partnerships and supporters, but again, it is quite a interesting, kind of like a platform with a lot of exciting partnerships, and that's one of the reasons why this token is available on Coinbase as well as Binance right now. So obviously their partnerships are definitely helping out, right? And at the bottom of the page you have all the social media information and several other documents that you can access to learn more about this project before you put your money into this, right? So that's a pretty quick overview of the platform itself. So let's go to the coin market cap page for this token. This token is currently ranked 67th by market cap and coin market cap, and is currently trading at 5.9 cents at the time I'm making this video, with a 15.41% decrease in the past 24 hours. Again, the token is seemingly dumping, and once we see the charts, we'll understand much more about that. So when it comes to the market cap itself, the token has a market cap of $2.5 billion in market cap locked into it. Even though the token has one of the poorest tokenomics in the crypto space, it still attracts a lot of capital. And this is obviously because of the fact that it has a Coinbase listing, and Coinbase access the primary one of the primary exchanges in the US and several other places where people can access cryptocurrency. So when they see a cheap token like this one, again, this is not necessarily cheap, but this is the dollar value is quite cheap compared to several other projects. So they feel like this is a really good project to invest in, because it could probably make 100x or something like that, right? But in reality, the tokenomics as well as the market cap is the one that actually matters, but most retail investors don't really look into that, right? So if you take a look at the max and total supply, obviously it has a huge total supply of 99.2 billion tokens, which is a lot of tokens, and out of which 46% of the tokens are already in circulation. And this token, as we know before, the huge amount of tokens will definitely at some point get pumped into the market, and that's going to slump the price of this token moving forward. And probably that's one of the reasons why the token is already slumping right now, because there's a lot of people who are dumping their token, right? So that's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of this project. But when it comes to the price chart itself, you can clearly see that the token price was worth 1.1 cent last year in 11th of September. It was pretty much going sideways, or even making an all-time lows of $0.003 per token. But it started pumping early this year when the token went almost from $0.006 per token to a new all-time highs of about 3 cents. From there, it made a new all-time highs of about 7 cents, and then a new actual proper all-time highs as of now of 11 cents per token, before crashing back down, retesting the 4 cents mark, retesting again to the 7 cents mark, and then coming back down. And then now it's kind of bouncing up and down and moving sideways. You can clearly see the sideways pattern, but overall so far it has made higher highs and higher lows. But I think this is only going to be short-lived, because a huge token supply is only going to hinder the project's ability to pump, right? So that's just my opinion, guys, not financial advice. But if you buy this token at this price point, it's still way far away from the previous all-time high, which means this token is definitely good for buying, but I wouldn't really personally invest this token in this long term, right? But when it comes to the Bitcoin compared to, on the other hand, you can clearly see that this token has a very similar pattern to the dollar comparative. In fact, the token was initially worth about I think it's 113 satoshis, yeah, and then it went down to an all-time low of 27 satoshis before making a new all-time highs of about 765 satoshis, then another new all-time high, and then made its proper all-time highs of close to, I think 250 satoshis or 260 satoshis per token, before crashing back down to about 136 satoshis, and then it boosted back up. But now it's moving sideways with 104 satoshis per token, right? So I'm pretty sure that this token is definitely going to be volatile, and therefore that's going to be at least short-term gains to be made for this token. For people who are long-term hodlers, I'm personally not invested in this project because I feel like the tokenomics is completely like extremely high, and therefore I don't really want to invest in tokens that don't have a scarcity comment built into it, right? But that's just my opinion, guys, not financial advice. But if you're trying to buy this token at this price point, you're pretty much still buying it from its previous all-time highs, which means there's a high chance that this token can easily pump if you buy it right now, right? But that's just your thoughts, and you need to do your own research for that, right? So if you take a look into the market itself, you can easily see that this token has an ample of liquidity from Coinbase as well as Binance itself. You can also buy this token from Gemini. So a lot of big major exchanges, tier 1 exchanges have listed this token, and therefore there's a lot of opportunities to buy this token from pretty much any other major exchanges as you want. But I think if it's listed on Binance, there's no reason to go to another exchange, right? So that's pretty much where the major liquidity is at, right? So what's my final verdict on this token? I'm not a big fan of this token. I think this token has some poor tokenomics, and I believe that this token, even though it is quite popular, is probably going to move sideways or even crash at some point in the next upcoming months. But if you want to buy this token, you need to do your own in-depth research before you put your hard-earned money on this token, right? But at the same time, if you want to understand where this token will be by the end of this bull run, I think this token definitely has a chance to pump more than 11 cents per token by the end of this bull run. But the long-term potential, I'm not really sure, because I think this token is definitely going to be a token that's going to be dumping or either slumping, right? But that's just my opinion, guys, not financial advice. Please do your own research before you put your hard-earned money on this token, right? Again, remember, guys, you guys are not regular investors, you guys are brutal investors, so stay brutal. Thank you very much for watching my video, guys. If you like my video, please click the like button and subscribe for more videos. See you in my next video. Bye.